All right, in this lab, we're going to talk about how to actually grab an item, meaning to move it. So in the last ones, we did simple interactive, and that let us do things like interact, like do a hover effect or even select it. But it didn't really let us move the object or anything like that. So let's say I have this here in exercise 8, I have this little simple world, and basically you can walk up and there's a little shelf here and you can pick up these 3 cubes. Okay. Now at the moment, none of these cubes all have like a rigid body affecting it, which means they have physics, they have gravity. But if I were to go into the world, I can't use my ray interactor or any kind of interactor to pick it up. Okay. It's like a solid object, like a wall. So to be able to work with this object, what I'm going to do is we need to add something called a XR grab interactable. Okay. Now what this is going to allow me to do is, wait for it, grab the item or pick it up. Okay. Now what I could do here is, once again, just like with our interactable, a symbol interactable, I need to set this to everything. This will let things This will let all of the objects on any, like if it was a ray interactor or something, interact with it. Under movement type, there's really 3 types. And it may be hard for, we're going to set it to each. To be honest, you're going to have to wait till I get in the headset because it's kind of hard to explain it in words. It's easier to kind of see it. But we have instantaneous, kinetic, and velocity tracking. Instantaneous, what it means instantaneous is that instantaneous will follow your when it attaches to your thing, it'll follow it directly. Okay, whatever you do here, it should be exactly in sync. Okay. And so that's good if you want something that like has no lag to it at all. The problem is its physics is not that great, and it also will run through the wall. It'll run through objects, so I can, like, when I show you this, I'll be able to actually pick this up and it can go through this shelf here. You know what I mean? Which may or may not be what you want that to happen. You would be able to interact with other objects. So even though I can go through the wall or the floor here, I could actually hit this other objects on it because those are also going to be interactable. I'm going to select this yellow one. That's going to be kinematic. And I'm going to do this, and let's set that to everything. And I'm going to set that to kinematic. Kinematic is better for physics. So its physics is better in terms of like the accuracy of everything. So it's a little less floaty. The gravity is a little better. The problem with it is because it's calculating all that stuff, it's a little bit laggy. It's not as fast as the instantaneous one, hence why it's not called instantaneous. It also will go through objects, like, so if when I pick this up, I can kind of pull it through the shelf here, just like with this one. I would be able to hit other objects though. So if you want something that's really better for physics, you probably want kinematic. Last one, let's add the XR grab interactable, and let's set that to everything. What I would do here, I'm going to set this to velocity. Velocity, velocity is really, how to explain it? The velocity is the best if you want an object that kind of works the way it would work in real life. So in other words, like this object, when I pick it up, I can't have it go through any other object. Like I can't have it go through the shelf or any other thing. So if like you have a lot of stuff, it may actually make it hard to pick the object up because it's actually bouncing off of everything. Whereas the other two, I could kind of just like pull it out, but you can't really do that when velocity is being applied to it. So, you know, I don't know if that's something you want or don't want, but like if you had something on a shelf, like, and you try to pull it off the shelf, if there was a lot of stuff on the shelf, you would be banging up against a lot of things. So it's closer to reality. That also may be bad in the same way, like, in reality, cleaning a room is hard because you have to move things around. That's what, velocity would be like, because you literally would have to move everything around. But you can decide if you want to do that. So I'm going to go into the headset. Oh, another thing, sorry, before I forget. What's going to happen here, and I did this in my video and I forgot to turn this on. What's going to happen is when you pick up the object, depending on how close you are to the object is just going to kind of stay where it is. So in other words, like if I'm here and the object's here and I zap it with my ray, the object will stay where it is. And if I move, it kind of stays that distance, if that makes sense. A lot of times what people really want is they want the object to kind of jump into the user's hand. So to do that, what we can do is you want to go to where it says far attach mode. And I'm going to set that to near. And what that means is that the object should jump right into the user's hand when it's being used. Okay. So let's try this out. I'm gonna switch over to my view, and you're gonna see how, I can move the objects around now that I've used the XR grab interact. Okay.
All right, everyone. So in this world, we're going to practice the grab. So each of these, like I showed, has a that XR grab interactor applied to it. I've also, for this particular one, I set it up so you can walk forward and turn if you want to as well. So what I'm going to do is each one of these cubes is interactable. So I can grab it and then move them around and let go. I want to talk about the different types though. So the red one is set to what's called it's set to instantaneous. And what that means is that this is going to be closest to your hand movement. So I'm, shaking my left controller back and forth, and see how like the transform is staying pretty much identical to that. So what happens is on instantaneous, the data of the rotation and the position update every frame. So it's going to be the most accurate. The downside of that is it can lead to things like this, where the object can actually go through other objects, like this floor that doesn't have a rigid body being applied to it. It can actually still knock into other things that do have rigid bodies. You can see I can knock over that other element there. Another thing about this is that the instantaneous, if I were to throw it, see how like that doesn't quite feel like the physics is, as good, right? So the physics on instantaneous is not as good, meaning it doesn't feel as real. Now this is kinematic. With kinematic, it's better on physics. The result of that is that it doesn't quite update as quickly, so it may feel like it's a little bit lagging in terms of when you do it. It also goes through, although I can still, do that. But when I throw something, it definitely, see how that felt a lot more real? Okay. I'm going to bring that back and throw it. Okay. The final one here, this is velocity tracking. And you can see actually when I did that, it kind of rotated there. But the thing about this one is that it's not allowed to actually pass through things. So if I kind of threw everything out, I probably shouldn't have done that. So I'm going to quit and come back in so I can kind of redo this again. Okay, I'm going to come in here and grab this. And so you can notice it won't go through the floor, but I can still interact with things. Once again, the physics is not as good as some of the other ones, but it is a little bit more acting like the way a real object would work, in that, it can interact with other objects. Okay.